1-821-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Fun weekend on campus at LSU. We'll be talking about that certainly. Denton Day from SiriusXM is going to join us in 30 minutes to recap the weekend in college football. Pretty big baseball game they're going to play tonight, which we'll talk about. And speaking of baseball, Matt Musso is going to jump on and talk a little fall LSU baseball with us at 2:15. Saints didn't play this weekend. LSU won a game 62-0. We're not going to load you up with Saints and LSU football for 2 hours. We'll do a good bit. The first 30 minutes are going to be devoted solely to LSU, but figured it was a nice time to slide a little bit of baseball in, and Musso's always down to jump in and chat about that, so we'll see him coming up in an hour and 15 minutes. But LSU wins 62-0 over Army on Saturday night. Look, it's not a competitive football game. It's not one that you're going to have a ton of huge takeaways from. What I like to do, or the way I like to look at that is, man, the weather was awesome. Campus was buzzing. It was fun. There were a lot of people out. Sometimes these games later in the season, non-conference, doesn't draw a great crowd. There was a great crowd on hand. I know a lot of folks brought some youngsters to this one, a little easier game for those folks to get to. So, it was just, we don't get a lot of Saturday nights in Death Valley. We sit there all summer long and think about football. So, yeah, it was 62-0, and yeah, LSU won by a bajillion, but it was a cool day on campus for a number of reasons. Saw a lot of folks in military uniform. Of course, the governor is a West Point graduate. He did the coin toss. Saw the parachuters that came in. Both teams sang each other's alma maters together after the game. There was some pageantry involved. It was just a cool day. Football-wise, day-wise, 2 thumbs up. I had a great time. But we will talk about kind of some of the things that we saw. Look, LSU was facing an Army team that did not have its starting quarterback. Bryson Daly got hurt against Troy last week. We didn't really know what his availability was going to be, and he didn't play. So they go out there with Champ Harris, and Champ Harris is the same quarterback as a freshman that played last week against Troy, and they didn't score a point. So you're facing a team that just doesn't have very much punch offensively, and then defensively, SEC teams can't keep up with you, much less Army. So it was just a demolition from start to finish. LSU started fast and played well throughout the game. They did everything they needed to do in this game to have it unfold the way that they wanted. And that was really all I talked about at the end of last week. I wasn't going to give you a ton of information on how Army's outside linebackers play, whether they're a primary man team or a primary zone team. I'm not telling you about the honors that their left guard has gotten over his college career. This is not when we're breaking down a bunch of X and O's and matchups. I just said, look, LSU needs to come out, play fast, get some stops, get this thing decided early, and then get some younger players some reps, rest some guys that may be dinged up. And that's exactly what LSU did. They started fast on offense. They played disciplined on defense. They were in the right spot. They made the tackles. And they got this thing to a blowout at halftime, and were able to sit Jaden Daniels. We're able to get some freshmen involved. You saw a big play from Trey Holly, and you saw a lot of guys on defense that haven't played a lot that got a chance to play. So mission accomplished from that perspective. I thought LSU tackled well in the game. You saw Army trying to do their option stuff, and LSU was generally in the right place and making tackles. And really the biggest takeaway that I had from this game was the night and the memory for Andre Sam. Andre Sam is an exceptionally easy guy to pull for. He had some tragedy early in his life. He has gone to McNeese and then to Marshall and then to Tulane and then to LSU. He's a Louisiana guy who's gotten this opportunity, and I don't know how many of you were listening in August when we talked about Andre Sam. And if you'd like to go check out the clips on YouTube, there was a great little piece that was done on Andre Sam when he was at Marshall. He's dealt with a significant speech impediment basically his entire life and has had to overcome a lot because of it, and has really done a great job of dealing with that and being himself. And he's a by all accounts, a tremendous young man who's getting the opportunity of a lifetime as a Louisiana kid who grew up in south of I-10 down here and has an opportunity after playing at McNeese and then playing at Marshall to play for LSU. And for him to have the opportunity to go out there on a Saturday night in Death Valley and to make those 2 interceptions and make those big plays and have that memory that he'll take with him after 6 years of college football, I thought was really, really cool. And Brian Kelly was asked after the game about Andre Sam's progression in the defensive backfield.
His patience is really what's starting to show. I thought he took himself out of some plays earlier in the year, being maybe just a little too aggressive or out of control. If you remember early on, maybe some missed tackles. He's really settled in and is playing confident, patrolling the middle of the field. He had a couple maybe, he'd like to have back, or he'd had 4 interceptions. But playing at a high level, we need him to continue to do that. If he does, he presents a solid piece for us back there.
Yeah, he was an aggressive player. That was the what we had heard about Andre Sam when he came to LSU. Of course, he played for Frank Wilson at McNeese. And I'll tell you this, in a secondary that did not make a lot of plays that I saw in fall camp, when there was a play made, it was usually Andre Sam. He was usually the one that was making the tackle. He was usually the one that was getting his hands on the ball. Like most of the time when I went out to fall camp, you saw the defense in big trouble. And when they did make a play, it felt like, oh, there's 14. That's not a guy I even considered really going out to practice the first time. And I was like, I think he's going to play a lot. And now, because of the numbers in LSU secondary, which we'll talk about in the next segment, Sam has gotten an opportunity to play and had a big night on Saturday night in Death Valley. As far as the offense goes, the other piece of this puzzle from Saturday night, look, the numbers are fantastic, as you would expect. LSU threw it for 369 yards and ran it for another 201, so a 570-yard outburst by the offense. I realize they're playing Army, and Army's not a very good college football team, but it is just sometimes impressive to watch the offense and look how easy they make things. I mean, it's like the first play. They come out, and boom, there's Kyron Lacey for 12 yards. And they just go right down the field. And Neighbors, 4 catches, 2 of them for touchdowns. Brian Thomas, 3 catches, 2 of them for touchdowns. And then you kind of sit down and you let a lot of the other guys get out there and play. Chris Hilton made a couple of catches. Saw Aaron Anderson get out there for a couple catches as well. Kyron Lacey had 3 catches in the game. They were able to spread the ball around a little bit in this game, and it just looks so easy. Jaden Daniels just makes it look so easy. And the highlight play for me from him in the game is obviously the play where he rolls to his right and flicks it down the field, and Brian Thomas is able to run under it and make the catch. And that's just one of those plays. I tweeted this out, and I said it on the postgame show as well. Like, those are the kind of plays that make me think Jaden Daniels has a chance to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know. It was easy to tell with Burrow. Daniels, this has been such a meteoric rise, and he doesn't have a huge arm, or he's a little slender in terms of his build. And you got to win NFL games from the pocket, although most of the quarterbacks do have a degree of athleticism at this point. There aren't a lot of guys that look like Peyton Manning and Terry Bradshaw and Troy Aikman out there these days. You don't have a lot of big statues. You've got a lot of guys that move, that are making plays in the NFL, and Jaden Daniels certainly falls into that category. But that's one of those throws to be able to evade the pressure, use your athleticism to extend the play, and then have the accuracy on the run to drop that thing right in the bucket over the top and hit Brian Thomas in stride, and there was no chance Army was going to catch him. That was an NFL-type play. It was really, really good, and we're just watching quarterbacking at such an elite level right now. He was 11 of 15 in the game, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, did not throw an interception, and didn't really have to run at all, which it's very, very rare when I get to the postgame show and fire up the stat sheet that I look at Jaden Daniels, 6 yards rushing. He usually got 86, and this time he just kind of did his damage from the pocket and then got out of the game at halftime, which is exactly what you wanted to see. You wanted to see Jaden Daniels off the field and just watching the rest of the night, and that's what you got. Garrett Nussmeier went out there, of course, hit the deep ball over the top on his first drive, and I thought played pretty well. 7 of 12 for 90 yards, and that deep one over the top, which was a really nice throw for a long touchdown. Trey Holly got the big play, the 67-yard touchdown run, showed some speed there. Nice to see Noah Kane get involved, a guy that puts in a ton of hard work, and he got in the end zone in the game. I was looking to see more of Caleb Jackson, quite frankly, but you only saw Caleb Jackson for 2 carries in the game. They were going to give some of the other guys that haven't played at all an opportunity to go, and I understand that, and it's a 55-0 game. You got a guy that you're counting on the rest of the way that may not want to put him at risk. But I was hoping to see a little bit more of Caleb Jackson. We did not see that. It was more of Noah Kane and Trey Holly. You know what? That's just fine. You got out of there and got everything you needed to accomplish into the bye week, and now got an opportunity to rest up and go play against Alabama, which we found out today is going to be in prime time on CBS, as we all expected. That'll be a 6:45 kickoff. The last order of business from the game is going to be our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. I'm certain that I will be in the minority, but that's okay. I'm just curious. Did you like the uniforms? Did you like LSU going with the gold helmet, the white jersey, the traditional jersey, and then the white pants? I hated it, but that should come as no surprise. I've generally only liked the classics, and I just thought it was kind of a mismatch of stripes and just looked awkward, and I felt like I was looking at Denham Springs or Letcher High School. That's what it looked like to me. My opinion doesn't mean anything, but I hated it. So it's an old man yells at cloud. Hester got mad at me this morning on the air. T-Bob disagrees with me. I know. I'm not here to rain on everyone's parade all the time. I just love LSU's classic uniforms. I want them to wear them every game. And then when they mix it up, I generally go, I don't like that. And that was the case on Saturday. So we'll see at the end of the show. We'll go back and look at the results. Just a simple, how'd you feel about LSU's uniforms on Saturday night? Loved them. Didn't like them. We'll just leave it at 2. That's fine. We're not going to have any middle ground here. Just state your case and pick a side. We'll see what the results are at the end of the show. I've got a feeling when we look back on it, most people are going to say, oh, I loved them, loved the all-whites. Because when I tweeted about it, that was the only response I got, was that everyone loves LSU when they go all-white. Well, they went all-white in Oxford in 2015 and got beat by 1 million. They went all-white last year against Tennessee and got beat by 1 million. They redeemed themselves in the all-white in this one. 62-0 was the final. There was some disappointing news on Saturday night. We'll get to that next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric, run by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux for 40 years, installing and providing Generac generators. Maybe you don't want a generator at the home, but you run a business, and you need that business running even if the power goes out, which happens. Some Yahoo runs into a power line, the whole block's out for 3 days. You want to get something done. If you've got a commercial building that you need powered, Boudreaux's can handle commercial orders. Just give them a call. It's the same number they've had for 40 years, 985-397-1562. Again, it's 985-397-1562. They'll get that generator installed at your business, and guess what? Just like if you put it in at your home, free 10-year warranty on all Generac generators over there from Boudreaux's Electric. Give them that call, the same number, 985-397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. and through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9.
Tuesday's OTB. We put a bow on the last weekend of football. We look forward to the LSU bye week, previewing Alabama. Plus, can the Saints manage to salvage the season? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m. 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Denton Day in 15 minutes. We'll kind of go around the country from a college football perspective as we do every Monday with Denton Musso coming up in an hour from right now, talking some LSU fall baseball. He's been out there a couple times, as have I. So we'll kick around some baseball here at 2:15 this afternoon. Almost everything was fantastic on Saturday night. It was a great day on campus, as I mentioned. It was a 62-0 win. You got a lot of guys out of the game early. You got some young guys playing time. It was almost a perfect night in terms of the football program, but there's one massive, massive concern now. On the last play of the first half, which was basically a Hail Mary by Army, Zy Alexander intercepted the ball and started running it back. And he got tackled, and he got hurt, and he was on crutches after the game. Gordy Rush on the LSU Sports Radio Network reported that he was having trouble putting any weight on it. So it seems like it could be a significant injury. I don't know, but Brian Kelly was asked about it in the postgame press conference.
A lower body injury that'll get evaluated here over the next 24, 48 hours. We'll get a better picture of that.
So obviously we're in that window now. They're entering a bye week. You won't hear from anybody on LSU's side this week, so we won't know for sure. And I certainly don't have any inside information or know, but it seemed like it may be a real injury. And if you look at that position, it looked like an ankle. And if you are playing cornerback, your really sole job is to change direction. You got to back pedal, drive on the ball, change direction, cover, run, all that. It's just a terrible position to try to play with a bad ankle. You can get Tua Tagovailoa the tightrope surgery and tape him up and have him go back in the pocket and try to throw it around a little bit, and that may work. Playing cornerback's a little different story. And so the thought that he may be unavailable for Alabama is a real one. And you start to look at the numbers in LSU secondary, and it is frightening at cornerback at this point. I mean, you come into the season with Zy Alexander, who's now potentially hurt, Deuce Chestnut, who's not with the team, Denver Harris, who plays sometimes and doesn't play some other times, and we get answers on him all the time. Ashton Stamps, who missed some time on Saturday. LaTerrence Welsh has missed some time. Javian Toviano hadn't played a bunch. Save Ryan's come down. Like you are way thin on corner. So somebody after the Zy Alexander question was asked about Denver Harris.
Coach, right here, was Denver Harris available to play in this game?
No, inactive.
inactive. I don't know. I don't know where Deuce Chestnut is or what he's doing. I don't know where Denver Harris is or what he's doing. I know that they don't play very often or ever. It's a troubling situation with two of the guys that actually are healthy. I don't know if Ashton Stamps is healthy or not. I don't know if LaTerrence Welsh is healthy or not. I don't know if Zy Alexander is healthy or not. I know that Deuce Chestnut and Denver Harris are healthy. I just don't know if they're going to play. So Brian Kelly put some freshmen out there in the game on Saturday night, and he talked about those guys having to play.
I was pleased with Hughes' performance out there. We played him at corner. I thought he did a really good job. They ran a a double move on him. His eyes were good. You saw Javion Toviano playing some corner. Those are the guys we've got. We're down to playing two corners that are true freshmen. You guys got anybody else? That's all we got. Any other questions about the freshman corners? No, I like them. They're just, they're freshman corners, and those are the two that were available to us because Stamps is still out with an injury, and he'll be back hopefully on the bye week.
So there's your information. It's a dire situation at cornerback right now, and I just don't know how much of it's going to get fixed in the next 12 days. That's how long you got before Jalen Milroe and that Alabama offense shows up. Now, that's not exactly Bryce Young or Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and all those guys, but they still make some plays, and you really are very, very slim at corner. It's just an unfortunate situation there for Zy Alexander. He's trying to make a play. It's at the end of the half. I wish he would have slid or just gone out of bounds or just knocked it down, but he's trying to make a play there, trying to go 100 yards on a pick six and gets rolled up on at the end. So this is going to be a massive storyline over the next 2 weeks. Who does LSU have and what can they do? It's a little bit better if Denver Harris is active, I guess is the way we're going to have to frame it. If Denver Harris is active and Ashton Stamps is healthy, then all of a sudden you've got some numbers. You can slide Sage Ryan down there, and it's not as if you're playing with guys who have not played at all. I wouldn't consider that the strongest SEC group of corners I've ever seen, but it could help. But if Zy is not available and Denver Harris is inactive, and if Stamps doesn't come back, all of a sudden you got guys that hadn't played at all that you're going to have to send out there. And that's a frightening, frightening situation. Now, the other good news, I guess, is if you're trying to put some perspective on this, it's not as if LSU is playing games like Iowa is, where you're trying to win games 10-7 and you lose an entire position group at defense and you weaken your only unit that functions. LSU struggled in the secondary. So there's only so much you can struggle. They can't do much worse than they did in Oxford, no matter who's out there. Put me out there, it's not going to be much worse than it was in Oxford. So that's one way to look at it, I suppose, but it's unfortunate. So we're not allowed access to practice anymore, and we get these injury reports. Do I put a ton of stock in what we hear week to week on injuries? Not a ton. I think that there's still probably a little bit of deception there at times when you want to conceal an injury or a situation, whatever the case may be. But you start to look at that group, and you're just about out of guys. So it's a concern, to say the very, very least. I thought in terms of importance, that was probably the most important thing that we saw, because the defense is, getting some confidence, at least over the last 3 weeks. They played decently enough in the second half against Missouri to get some stops and win. You played a solid football game against a bad Auburn offense, and you played a solid football game against a bad Army offense. So, Casey, if we could play Kelly. Kelly number 9 was talking about it being a big step for the defense. I don't know if you can take a huge step when you're playing Army, but Kelly spoke to it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm pretty pleased with, playing a team that runs, a very difficult offense, because you have to leverage the football, you have to tackle well, you have to have gap integrity. All the principles of playing good defense are on display tonight. You have to have those in place. And so, we passed the test. Now, again, I'm not ready to nominate this defense for any award, but they are making the progress necessary to continue to build and have the building blocks to be a defense that can be a championship, football team. So good steps forward tonight. This was a big step for us.
We'll see if any of that's true or not. We'll see if any of that's true or not. Maybe they are making steps. It'd be hard to tell against Army. But you could tell against Alabama if they play significantly better and they hold Alabama last 24 points or something. That would be a big step. I just don't know how much stock you can put into Army or Auburn because they're just so poor on the offensive side of the ball. So if your defense is getting better, then great. Your team's going to be better, and you're going to have a real chance to win your games down the stretch here. If it's not getting any better, and it's just because you're beating up on these bad teams, and when you play a functioning offense against Alabama and some pretty good weapons against Texas A&M and whatever Florida brings to the table in a given week, if you're not playing better, well, then you still got this offense to lean on. And Brian Kelly was asked, hey, can you win the West and win championships just playing track meets?
We just shut out an opponent. Are you just going to throw water on this thing? We just shut somebody out. Now we're in a track meet. That track meet was a long time ago. I don't even remember it. All I remember is playing really good defense this game. Last week we gave up 18 against Auburn, and they just I didn't know they lost, but they were in a heck of a tussle with the team that we lost to. The week before, I think Missouri's a pretty good team, and our last 2 quarters were pretty good. So I get what you're saying. I hear you, but I think we're making progress. And so, no, we can't win a championship giving up 30, 40, 50 points a game. I don't believe that. But we can if we continue to improve.
That was a quality answer. We're going to play some sound in hour number 2 that's even more quality from Sam Pittman. Y'all know how I feel about press conferences and how some answers are half-truths or concealing things or disingenuous, and that's something you've got to take into account for in these situations. And that one kind of felt a little bit tongue-in-cheek early and then kind of wound around to I think what they're probably preaching in that room is like, hey, defense, like you're getting better. Good second half against Missouri. Good job against Auburn. Good job against Army. This group, and maybe that's what they need is just a little confidence boost because you couldn't have had any confidence after the Ole Miss game and then the first half against Missouri. Like, how could you even show up and act like you've got any confidence after that happened? That's as bad as a defense can play. But maybe they're turning a corner. We're just not going to know. That'll be the entire this week and all of next week as you get ready for Alabama. That'll be all we talk about. Is LSU's defense capable of going on the road and getting some stops against a talented team? Yeah, they can do it at home against Auburn. Yeah, you bring a service academy in there with the backup quarterback. That's pretty good. But the question's going to be, can they do it on the road? I don't have a lot of questions about how LSU is going to play offensively in Tuscaloosa. I think LSU is going to go score 30-plus points because that's what this offense looks like. But defense, I just don't know. I hope, and I'm looking at numbers at corner, but you just can't know. And so that was just a real bummer of a situation with Zy Alexander. But maybe things are headed in the right direction. We'll just have to wait and find out in a couple of weeks in Tuscaloosa. The Baton Rouge Zydeco take to the ice for the first time when they face off with the Columbus River Dragons Thursday, October the 26th. Single game tickets start just $10. You can get them online at RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com or through Ticketmaster, or you can register for a chance to win free Baton Rouge Zydeco tickets from us here at 1045ESPN.com. We'll step aside. When we come back, Denton Day, Sirius XM's College Football Overtime, is with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jump into the NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass, courtesy of FanDuel, when they place a $5 bet on the NBA. That way you can watch all the action as you bet on everything from point spreads to player props. Best of all, you get paid your winnings instantly. So don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. Just visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and tip off the NBA season right. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. New customer offer. First online real money wager only. Refund issues not withdrawable bonus bet expires in 7 days. All customer offer. $5 NBA wager required. Limit one pass per customer across both offers. Restrictions applied. Void where prohibited. See terms for both offers at FanDuel.com/1045ESPN. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NBA League Pass. Local blackout restrictions apply.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care.
Join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco will join us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Always enjoy our Monday conversations with Denton Day, host of College Football Overtime. Saturday nights from 11 to 1 Central Time. He's with us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Denton, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Hope you are as well.
Doing very well. Doing better than James Franklin, probably. Penn State goes to Columbus. They only put 12 points on the board, and they lose. It wasn't a pathetic effort. They weren't blown out, but they didn't get it done, and that's kind of been the narrative during his time there. What did you see between Penn State and Ohio State on Saturday?
So if you remember a couple weeks ago, maybe it was only a week ago, there was that viral moment between James Franklin and a reporter because the reporter asked the question, Coach, do you feel like you have enough explosiveness in your offense? And then he went on this random tangent. He attacked the reporter, and he didn't answer the question. Saturday answered the question. No, they cannot throw the ball down the field. They do not have an explosive offense. It was very apparent watching them try and move the ball, specifically in the second half. They just didn't have answers. And Ohio State is better defensively than what we've seen in best defensive unit. But there's still a unit that you should be able to move the ball against. I feel like on paper, Penn State might be better than Ohio State, which is crazy. From a talent perspective, Ohio State has way more talent. But just from an on-paper perspective and how Penn State had played up to this point, I was expecting a better effort, but their offense just didn't have the juice, and Ohio State did. I laid the 5.5 with Ohio State, felt good about it, and I was proven right on Saturday.
Yep, 1/8. That'll get you home every time. What do you make of Kyle McCord as a starting quarterback for an elite level program?
He's okay.
Yeah.
He's just that. Like he's better than certain guys across the nation, but I don't know if I would trust him to win a game in a hostile environment. We haven't seen that, so I am excited. With that being said, to seeing how he's going to handle Michigan when that game comes up in a couple of weeks. But as of right now, he's just an okay quarterback playing with way better than okay talent.
You mentioned Michigan. They win 49-0 over a Michigan State program that's kind of in a spiral. J.J. McCarthy, 4 more touchdowns. Who's got a better chance to win the Heisman Trophy, J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels? You take Penix out.
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think that is going to depend. I think if Jaden Daniels does basically what he's been doing to everybody against Alabama and hands Alabama its second loss, and LSU finds its way into the SEC championship game, I would lean Jaden Daniels. But if that does not happen, if LSU loses another game, because wins and losses, obviously, as we know, don't directly impact the Heisman, but there is some element of it that does, and Michigan remains unbeaten, and JJ has a great game against Ohio State, I would say JJ. But that's a great question. That's really, really close.
Michael Penix wasn't great. Turned the ball over 3 times on Saturday against a bad Arizona State team, but Washington did win. Where did that affect his Heisman candidacy?
I think it did, but I think for him, he's really glad that happened at a time where just about half of the country was asleep, probably more than half of the country was asleep. And I don't know how you feel about the Heisman Trophy voting process. I hate it. I think there are a lot of people that have a Heisman vote that should not have a Heisman vote, and I'm a little jealous because I want a Heisman vote. I think there are a lot of people that have a Heisman vote, though, and they weren't watching that game. So he might be able to skate a little bit out of this one if he goes and he continues to ball out against better teams.
Those of us that are yapping around midnight on Saturdays, we're watching it, so I did see it. Let's see, Tennessee and Alabama. Look, it was 20-7 at halftime. Tennessee felt like they were in control of the game, and it all came crashing down on them in the second half. What does that tell you about Tennessee and where they are right now?
It tells me that Tennessee is kind of where I thought they were. I didn't think they were an upper tier team this year in the SEC. I didn't think they were an upper tier team in the SEC East. I think they're a good team. I think they could play really strong. I think that Joe Milton didn't play terrible in the first half. I don't think he played great in the second half, and I think that's kind of the tale of what Joe Milton is. Alabama started to get their offense rolling a little bit, and Tennessee just couldn't match it. There's a big difference between Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton, and that was on full display this weekend.
I'm trying to word this question properly, but it's only coming one way. Is Alabama a national championship contender? Can they win the whole thing?
I want to say no, but as I continue to watch them beat teams that are ranked and beat, like the way they beat Tennessee, I thought was very impressive. I mean, holding that offense scoreless in the second half, that did kind of remind me of a national championship kind of performance from Alabama. So I think they need a lot of help just to get there. But if they keep winning, I do think there is a potential that they could win this whole thing.
I think they are. They don't look like they normally do, but they just keep winning, and that's really all that we ask teams to do is just keep winning. TCU did it last year, and they showed up and had a chance to play for it. A team that did not win on Saturday is USC. They lost to Utah and gave up 34 points in the process. I mean, is there anything new to add to this?
No, not really. We kind of know what USC is. Offensively, I still think they're okay. Caleb Williams just hasn't been playing great. There have been calls, and we knew these calls were going to happen the second some sort of adversity happened with USC, saying that Caleb Williams needs to pack it up.
Yeah.
He needs to go to the NFL. I mean, in like a 4-week span, he was going to go back to USC because he didn't like the team that was currently slated to be number 1 overall. He then wanted equity in whoever drafts him, and now he's just about ready to go to the NFL and leave everything about USC behind. It's exhausting. It's tiring. I love the kid because he's from D.C., so I always root for guys that are from this area. But this USC team is a Lincoln Riley-coached team. Lincoln Riley is a very good college head coach. He is not the highest of tiers, I think people placed him there. He's not that. And this team this year is a perfect example of that.
Just can't play defense. He scored 32 points, just decent. You just couldn't get enough stops to beat Utah. All right, let's move quickly to next week. I think the biggest game is probably Utah hosting Oregon out west. Should be a physical football game. Who do you like there?
I think I'm leaning Oregon in this one. I have been very impressed, though, with the way that Utah's played, and they're still very quietly in the mix. Not just for the Pac-12 championship, but if they were to run the table, I think they would be in the conversation for the college football playoff. So this game's going to be huge, but I do think Oregon is the better team. I think Bo Nix is certainly the better of the two quarterbacks that we're going to see this weekend, and I think Oregon is kind of on a mission now. They lost to Washington. They probably felt like they were the better team, and to an extent, I don't disagree with that. Washington just got the benefit of a couple turnovers and a couple of really big plays at really good times. I think Oregon is going to get it done, and I think this might be an impressive win for the Ducks.
Oklahoma's headed to Lawrence. Used to be walkover, but at this point, Kansas is pretty good. I don't know what the status of Jalen Daniels is, but Oklahoma was on the ropes at home last week with UCF. Do you give the Jayhawks a chance?
No, I don't. I think last week was the one game. You kind of figured with Oklahoma and Texas, they just happened to have it the same week. There was going to be one game where they were challenged by a team that shouldn't be challenging them. I think that was last week. I think you're going to see a much better version of this Oklahoma team. I think Dylan Gabriel's going to have a much better performance. I think Oklahoma wins that one big.
You still think Michigan's the best team in the country?
I do, yeah. Florida State's close, but I do think Michigan's the best team in the country.
Interesting. We'll see. We'll see when Michigan gets a little stiffer challenge here in the coming weeks. Denton, we appreciate the time on this Monday, man.
Hunt, appreciate it, man. Be good.
He is Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime, each and every Saturday, 11 to 1, recapping all things college football. Then he jumps on Monday and does so for us. It's not a super awesome slate on Saturday, and that's kind of a bummer for us when it's the bye week and you'd like to watch some football. Maybe you take the bye week and do something else. I'm actually going to go play golf, so I won't be watching a ton of football, but it's a great time that you don't have to go tailgate. You don't have to lock in on LSU for 4 hours. You can watch kind of whatever you want, and you look around, and it's like, okay, Oregon and Utah is a pretty good game, but the best SEC game is Georgia and Florida, and it's a 14.5-point number at this point. Oklahoma, Kansas is trying to work real hard. Florida State's headed to Wake. I don't know if that's going to get anybody fired up. Duke and Louisville. And maybe if it was basketball, I'd be a little bit more excited than I am. Tennessee, Kentucky. Is that kind of interesting? Maybe. But it's just not an awesome week of college football. So maybe get some things done around the house, or do like me and go play golf. Go do something different because it's just not a super awesome week of college football coming up. LSU did secure a big commitment on the recruiting side of things. We'll get back to LSU football before my SEC thoughts on the weekend that was coming up at 2 o'clock. So come back with us right here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center. Man, get that cheesesteak, the number 17, grilled fresh to order, tender steak, peppers, onions, white American cheese. It hits the griddle right when you order it. They cook it up right there in front of you, and it is fantastic. We told you last week the whole office had Jersey Mike subs here. You can do that. They've got boxes of 12 subs. They can do individual box lunches with the chips and maybe a cookie you can throw in there. So if you ever want to feed the office, Jersey Mike's certainly can handle that. And you do a catering order from Jersey Mike's with our friends on Highway 30 in Gonzales, 20% off that catering effort if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. Jersey Mike's, awesome stuff. Download the Jersey Mike's app. Stop by and see our friends on Highway 30 in Gonzales. You can do DoorDash as well. Got all your options. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU-Army from Tiger Stadium. Peter Burns will recap the weekend in the SEC. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We'll look at some things that we think that are important for us to address in practice before we, start to look at Alabama. I think there's some things that individually that we want to get some players to look at, and then some scheme things, and we'll do that on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Brian Kelly laying out his plans for LSU's open date. Tigers take it on Halloween weekend every year right in front of Alabama, and kind of understand what they do. They get in and kind of look at the tape from Army and do some self-evaluation for the first couple of days. Maybe a brief bit of install for Alabama, but not nearly what you would think as far as what I've been told by players that have been involved. Now, Brian Kelly wasn't involved for all that, but most of the time you don't really start unpacking Alabama from the players' perspective until you come back on Sunday from the bye week. So it's not like it was 20 years ago where you were going to do all your scouting for Alabama. They have so many analysts and do so many things all year in terms of data collection that they've got a lot of that already to go for Alabama. As far as getting out there on the practice field and implementing it, it's just not something you do for 2 weeks. It's more of a 1 week type of deal. So they'll spend some time working on themselves the next couple of days. They'll give the guys a few days off at the back end of the week so they can go home and rest and recuperate. And then they'll be full steam ahead on the Tide when they come back on Sunday and on Monday. But one thing that the coaches will certainly be doing on this open date is recruiting. That's something that never stops, and it gives you an opportunity to really get out on the road and do a little bit of recruiting this weekend, seeing some high school players play in person, making trips places, and they'll be doing a lot of that in the coming days. They also got a commitment over the weekend as far as recruiting goes from P.J. Woodland. Woodland is an athlete, 5'11", 6 feet tall, 165 pounds or so. So thin, but a real good athlete from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, goes to Oak Grove High School. He had previously been committed to Mississippi State, decided to reopen that commitment, and he commits to LSU. Has had offers from Ole Miss, Tulane, Texas, Auburn, but was a Mississippi State commitment and flipped to LSU. This is another high school corner. Obviously, you lost Andre Evans last week, who decided to commit to to Georgia, but you add P.J. Woodland in this class as a corner, and they've got to continue to add high school corners. They cannot continue to keep restocking these shelves with sophomores, juniors, and seniors who were going to leave in another year every single year. They had to do it in year one, and they took the guys they could get, and those guys moved on pretty quickly. You took Jacques Bernard-Converse in, he's gone. You took Joe Fouché in, he moves on. You bring in Mekhi Gardner, he's gone. And so you got to redo the whole thing, and you bring in Deuce Chestnut, and you bring in Denver Harris, and you bring in Zy Alexander, and we'll see which of those guys are on the team moving forward for various reasons, some eligibility, some discipline, some transfer, some who knows what. But you can't keep doing this year after year after year. That's why the Evans commitment to Georgia kind of stung a little bit, but Woodland committing in is definitely a good thing. This is one of the best athletes and players in the state of Mississippi. And it's a good ad at a place they really, really need it, which is the defensive backfield. I'm going to have like nightmares about LSU's situation at cornerback, and certainly P.J. Woodland is not going to come in here and fix it this year. He's in high school, but it's just they've got to continue to recruit high school level players like Ashton Stamps, like LaTerrence Welsh, like Javian Toviano, those guys that come in and give you some stability in the secondary. You've been like exceptionally stable on the offensive and defensive lines. You've been really, really stable at the wide receiver spot. Your quarterback position is as solid as it's been in a long time. You look at the running back; they got 8 and 9 guys on scholarship at running back, and you've done a good job at linebacker of adding high school players and then complementing that with a transfer portal. But the biggest upheaval on this roster has been DBs. It's just been. We got so used to for 20 years just unbelievable stability and play, and like it's so good because you can roll through guy by guy like who took over for who. It just looked like that for 20 years, and it just got disrupted in this double coaching change, and they've just had a hard time getting it back on track. I mean, you had your two kind of best guys 2 years ago leave you. You had Eli Ricks and Dwight McGlothern, who were kind of the next chains in that Fulton Stingley line right into McGlothern and Ricks, and they left. And you've replaced them with some portal guys, and it just you hadn't had the continuity or the level of play that's necessary to win. So hopefully you can start to do that a little bit. Nice add to this class in the youngster P.J. Woodland. The first ever Baton Rouge Kids on the Catwalk Dreams Come True fashion show is coming up October the 26th at the Country Club of Louisiana. Dream Kids are going to be walking the catwalk with local dignitaries as their escorts. Flynn Foster, our guarantee owner, will be there. Richard Condon from Eagle 98.1 will be there. If you get admission into the Dreams Come True fashion show, it includes dinner and an open bar. There's also going to be live and silent auctions featuring celebrity auctioneer T-Bob Hebert. So purchase your tickets or your tables online at dctofla.com, dctofla.com. We're so fortunate here at Guarantee to be able to be involved with Dreams Come True. It's such a fantastic organization here in our state, granting dreams and wishes for children who are battling illnesses and their families alike. And so any opportunity we have to help them out, we always take it. We've got the telethon that we do each and every year, and then this fashion show that's coming up is the first one ever, and we're thrilled to be just a small part of it with Flynn Foster and Richard Condon and T-Bob Hebert. So if you do have the means, we certainly would be so appreciative if you'd go to Dreams Come True and buy those tickets and make those donations. Just trying to make as many of these dreams come true as we can. Sometimes it's a trip to Disney, sometimes it's a new puppy, sometimes it's meeting an athlete that they want to meet, and it just puts smiles on those faces, and it is incredible to see. We watch a lot of videos in here of some of those kids, and it's just awesome stuff. So we appreciate Dreams Come True and hope to see y'all out there October the 26th, which is of course Thursday of this week. All right, that's hour number 1 here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Talked about LSU and Army for the first 2 segments of the show today. If you want to catch that on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, anywhere you can find your podcast, or of course on YouTube. Hunt on LSU. All LSU football talk all year round. It's not going to sprinkle anything else in there but football, so we'd appreciate it if you subscribe to that channel. We'll put my reaction to LSU and Army up on that channel. Denton Day from SiriusXM's College Football Overtime was with us going through the country as a whole in college football. We did that at 1:30, and then a little LSU recruiting talk there to end hour number 1. Busy hour number 2, though. Very much looking forward to it. My picks against the spread in the SEC, coming off a 5-0 week. How did it look? Had 4 games that we picked. And then there is some sound from Sam Pittman postgame that I cannot wait to play for you. It is fantastic stuff from an entertainment perspective. Obviously, Arkansas not playing very well, lost 6 in a row, but Pittman had some interesting things to say on Saturday. And then Musso is going to jump on in 20 minutes at 2:15, and we're going to talk a little bit about baseball. The champs have been out there going through fall workouts, and I didn't want to spend 2 hours talking about LSU and Army, so I tapped Musso on the shoulder and said, hey, man, you want to talk about Cam Johnson and Paxton Kling? You want to talk about Stephen Milam and talk about Jared Jones? We'll do some of that coming up at 2:15 with Musso. We'll take a quick break, pause for Sports Center. We'll come back on the other side. You're listening to a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206 9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting disgruntled guard James Harden remains away from the 76ers. It is unclear whether he'll be available to play in the Sixers season opener Thursday against the Bucks. Timberwolves forward Jaden McDaniels agreed on a 5-year, $136 million contract extension. An MLB postseason doubleheader on ESPN Radio on the way today. First up, Phillies can punch their ticket to a second straight World Series with a win over the Diamondbacks. Game 6 of the NLCS. Aaron Nola, Merrill Kelly, 4:30 Eastern. Then ALCS Game 7. Astros-Rangers, 7:30 Eastern. Houston starts Christian Javier. Texas counters with Max Scherzer. Some concern when it comes to Scherzer for ESPN's Eduardo Perez.
Is he the shadow of who we're accustomed to seeing? It was 4 innings, 5 earned runs the last time, and he really wasn't fooling too much of the Houston Astros. But at the same time, the Astros don't hit here. Something has to give.
From ESPN's Adam Schefter, 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey will play against the Vikings on Monday Night Football despite an oblique injury. 8 Eastern, ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Tuesday, we saw a lot of backup quarterbacks play this weekend. I'll tell you if any of them played well enough to stay on the field. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Musso with us in 15 minutes talking baseball. But it is that time of the week where we go over what we saw in the Southeastern Conference back on Saturday, and I always pick the games against the spread. And I was tooting my own horn last week, went 5-0, really got myself over 500, felt like we were in a position where we could really take off late and surge to significantly over 500 against the spread. Well, I took Arkansas -6. They lost outright. I took Tennessee +9. They did not cover. I took Auburn +6.5. They lost by 7, so they didn't cover. And I took Missouri -7.5. They did get home against South Carolina. So a 1-3 week against the number, not nearly as quality. Could not sustain success, and now we've gone back down to right around 500 for the season. In total for the year, we are 31-30. So we got work to do. We go 5-0. We back up with a 1-3 week. But what did I actually see on the field? We'll start with Bama and Tennessee. Bama wins it 34-20, but as you're probably well aware, this was a 20-7 game at the half that Tennessee was kind of in control of. And then Alabama outscores them 27-0 in the second half. You know, when I picked Tennessee to cover and felt pretty good about that, and also sort of thought they had a real chance to win the game. And the reason for that is because I thought that Tennessee could win at the line of scrimmage. We heard Nick Saban saying what he thought was the difference against Texas A&M in that game. They won. He said he thought they won the line of scrimmage. And I thought Tennessee could do that to Alabama, who struggled giving up sacks, who struggled giving up tackles for loss, and Tennessee makes a living back there. But Alabama held up at the line of scrimmage, and they kept the Tennessee pass rush mainly at bay because they ran the ball so well. They ran it 42 times and only threw 21 passes. So that's, 66% of your plays on the ground hammering away. And wouldn't always look like that in a game that you're losing 20-7, but they continue to hammer away and hammer away. After the half, Bama scored on its first 4 offensive drives, and Tennessee went punt, turnover on downs, punt, sack, strip, fumble, scoop, and score. So it was punt, turnover and downs, punt, scoop, and score on those first 4, and that's when Bama completely flipped it. And look at Tennessee under Josh Heupel on the road since they came to Baton Rouge and won. This is what they've done on the road. They went to Georgia and lost 27-13 in a game that was never close. Never close. They went to South Carolina a couple weeks later, and they just threw up all over themselves. South Carolina beat them 63-38, and Hooker got hurt. Now, they did beat Vanderbilt 56-0. If you want some credit for that, have at it. I really wouldn't consider that a road game because you're going to have way more Tennessee fans in Nashville in that stadium than you do Vanderbilt fans. But they did win that one. And then this year they got smoked by Florida in the Swamp, and then went to Tuscaloosa and got shut out in the second half in an onslaught, and they were firing up cigars in Bryant-Denny for that win. So, look, Alabama is not what we're accustomed to from Nick Saban. It's not pretty. It's not completely dominant defensively like some of those teams 10, 12 years ago. It's just effective. They just have a lot of good players. Milroe's not making too many catastrophic mistakes like Milton did with the strip sack fumble. And they're beating teams. They go to College Station and win. They beat Ole Miss. Tennessee came in ranked, and Alabama found a way. And we were talking to Denton Day back in the last hour about Bama's chances to win a national championship. I think they exist. I would not bet on them to do it, but I think they certainly exist, and they did enough to beat Tennessee by 2 scores. Ole Miss wins kind of a meh game against Auburn. Ole Miss outgained them 425-275. Talking about 150 yards of difference of offense. Auburn scored with 56 seconds left to make it a 7-point game. So really, Ole Miss kind of was in control in the second half of the game. I was trying to watch that in the press box and Army LSU, so you can't totally invest in it, but it didn't feel like Auburn had a real chance to win the game to me. They just can't throw the ball. Robbie Ashford and Peyton Thorne, they started Ashford in the game, but those two combined to throw for 122 yards and 2 interceptions. They're just completely inept through the air, and the home crowd can try to keep them in it, and their defense isn't terrible, but Dart did plenty enough, and they started running the football like they did last year and almost ran it 56 times for 223 yards and won the time of possession 34-26. I mean, it was just a physical kind of oppressive win by Ole Miss in the second half against a pretty bad Auburn team. Missouri hammered South Carolina. This is the only one I won against the number, and I felt really good about this one. I call this one kind of my lock of the week here because hashtag Jimmy Ott, lock of the week there. Look, South Carolina's terrible. They don't do anything well. Nothing. Every statistic you can look at, they're towards the bottom or at the bottom. They're 2-5. They're 1-4 in the league. This was a blowout that was not nearly as close as 34-12 would indicate. It was 24-3 at halftime. Cody Schrader from Missouri ran for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the story for me here is Missouri's pretty good, and I was pretty impressed with them against LSU, and that's all well and good. They have a fine football team. South Carolina's awful, and I just don't know if I expected them to be awful. There's always 2 or 3 teams in the SEC that fall on their face. And right now it looks like Arkansas and South Carolina are the 2 that are going to come up really, really grossly under expectation. Mississippi State hasn't been very good. At least they were able to go up and get a win against Arkansas. And that's what I wanted to finish with here in this segment is Mississippi State's 7-3 win over Arkansas. This was as ugly a football game as I can remember watching. Honestly, it was absolutely awful to watch. At one point, Mississippi State had 3 consecutive procedure penalties where they couldn't get a snap off. You had a scoop and score for Arkansas that gets taken off the board because there's a false start. You've got just horrendous efforts through the air, mainly by KJ Jefferson, who just looks completely lost. And then just some coaching debacles on the Arkansas side of things. There was a point in this game in the second half where Arkansas had an opportunity on 4th down to kick a 51-yard field goal. They have one of the best kickers in the conference. Reichert's been great at Bama. Ramos has been good for LSU. But Cam Little might be the first-team all-league kicker. He's fantastic. And Arkansas hesitated to send him out for a 51-yard field goal. and then rushed him out there and got a delay of game, which backed him up to 56 yards, and then they punted the ball. That is egregious and should never happen. Sam Pittman was asked about this in the postgame, and he gave one of the most candid and frankly unacceptable answers I may have ever heard in a press conference. This is Sam Pittman in response to what happened when you had a 51-yard field goal. You were late getting the team out there. They got a delay of game, it moved you back, and you had to punt and took a scoring opportunity off the table in a 7-3 game.
No timeout.
I had decided it was 4th and 4, I think, maybe 4th and 3, right in Cam's range, and I didn't know what to do, to be perfectly honest with you. So I was probably about 8 seconds in on the 40-second clock, maybe 10, and I decided to kick a field goal, and we didn't kick it. We didn't get it off in time. That's the truth. I did not want to call a timeout at that point because I wasn't for sure I even wanted to kick the field goal, to be perfectly honest with you. And we kicked it down to the 2 or whatever, and then the fans got really involved in it. But Trey, to be honest with you, I didn't know what to do. I didn't make the decision fast enough. And once I got it in there, I thought we had plenty of time to kick it. But at that point, I wasn't going to burn a timeout because my feeling was I wasn't for sure I was making the right decision anyway.
You didn't know what to do? Sam, Coach Pittman, you make $5 million a year, and this is all you're there to do. You don't call plays. You don't call defenses. You've never been a coordinator. You're an offensive line coach. All you're standing there to do with a headset is to say, hey, punt or go for it or kick the field goal. That's your only job here. Call a timeout. You can do that too. Oh, my goodness, great. You didn't know what to do. Things are not great in Fayetteville right now. They've lost 6 in a row. Lost that game to BYU, had that murderous month away from Fayetteville. They come home, they play what I consider the worst team in the West, and they throw up a 3-spot offensively, and their coach doesn't know what to do. And then I found a little bit of humor's not the right word because there's people's families involved here, but the answer is entertaining from a perspective of Sam Pittman was asked after Arkansas has just been so bad offensively, last in the SEC in total offense. They put up a 3-spot on Mississippi State in this game, and they asked Sam Pittman if he would consider making staff changes in season.
Separate the team.
I think earlier you asked about maybe considering personnel changes. Would you ever consider an in-season staff change at all ever?
Oh, I don't really want to answer that.
Well, he did. He answered it like 10 hours later when they fired Dan Enos halfway through his first year on the job. And I do feel for Dan Enos because he uproots his family and comes to Fayetteville and immediately, probably got hired in January. So 10 months in, packing your bags, going somewhere else. But Arkansas owes him $3.7 million. So I don't feel as bad. I think you can probably land on your feet at that point. But interesting answer by Sam Pittman. I don't want to answer that. Then press release pops out 12 hours later. Yeah, Dan Enos not going to finish his first year on the gig here in Fayetteville. They tried to rekindle some old magic there. Enos did a pretty good job in round 1 as a coordinator for Arkansas, but they were dreadful this year. And the one thing that you and it's happened in 2 different places this year in the SEC, both in the West. You take a quarterback that's had real success and has been a good, productive player in the SEC, and you bring in a new coordinator and they look completely and totally baffled. That's on the coach, and it's happened in college, and it's happened in Starkville, and it's certainly happened in Fayetteville. Because if you watch that game between Arkansas and Mississippi State and saw KJ Jefferson, that is not the guy I have watched for 3 years play quarterback in the SEC. He looks baffled. So Dan Enos will take his cash and move on, and we'll see if Sam Pittman can survive the year. I said it last week, and I'll say it again here. I think Gus Malzahn is going to be the coach at Arkansas next year. I think that this is not going to go well the rest of the way for the Hogs. I think that the administration will move on if they feel like Malzahn will come, and I think that Sam Pittman will no longer be the coach at Arkansas because they are pitiful. And they had a nice little surge after COVID, but they're awful at this point. So that's my look around the Southeastern Conference. Let's talk a little baseball with Musso next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. Started in a backyard here in Baton Rouge. Now all of a sudden, look where they go now. They are among the top outfitters of equipment in Major League Baseball and throughout the college ranks as well. But that's not why we're talking about them here. We're talking about the impact that they have on our state. They bring in top-level talent to work in their baseball performance lab that draws people to the state of Louisiana. They keep our top-tier talent in Louisiana as well. And they also help us out from a tourism perspective. They put on the Marucci World Series every single summer, and when they do, thousands come and impact Baton Rouge's economy very, very positively for that stretch in July. So Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, we want to tell their story courtesy of LWCC. So go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a new champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Tuesday's OTB. We put a bow on the last weekend of football. We look forward to the LSU bye week, previewing Alabama. Plus, can the Saints manage to salvage the season? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m. at 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on this Monday, just walked down the hall and grabbed the first guy I saw. Musso is here. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball. Musso, how are you, sir?
I'm great. You know, it's the bye week win, right? We can wedge in some fall ball here.
I'm going to talk a little basketball, too, later this week.
Hey, they're about to start.
I can't do Bama for 12 straight days.
Huh?
You're going to be on fumes by the end of it. We'll potentially touch on it Thursday. I'm leaving on Friday. I'm out of here. I'm going to play golf. Like, I'm just not even gonna be around. But I can't dive fully into Bama this early. If you can, more power to you out there. I'm all for that. I'm just gonna kind of stay a little bit different direction. So you've been out to see the boys a couple times this fall?
I have. I mean, look, it's a great way to spend a weekend afternoon when you're separated from anything else, right? I mean, look, this was a perfect opportunity too. The Saints played on Thursdays. So you didn't have a local game NFL wise, and it was a late scrimmage, so it was great to see, man.
So let's start offensively because they're replacing quite a few players on the offensive side of things. My personal curiosity is on the middle of the infield. Where is your curiosity at this point the most?
Middle of the infield is one of it. First base is another one. Obviously, you're having to replace Trey Morgan, and they've just rotated a bunch of bodies over there, whether it be Jared Jones has spent time, Hayden Chervinsky, Ethan Fry. Jake Brown, obviously the two-way guy who they really want to be a two-way guy. So that's a spot huge because, look, we all got real used to every ball going over there being picked up by Trey Morgan. That's gone now. You got a little taste of it last year when he was playing the outfield and you saw Jared Jones there. That's now your reality. So that's a big spot. Middle of the infield, you mentioned it. I think Michael Braswell is obviously the guy that everybody's going to want to see at shortstop.
He's hitting a little bit, which I like because he's a good athlete and he's a proven defender in the SEC, but he didn't hit at all last year. No. So it's a question mark, but I'm encouraged by what I've seen for the first 3 weeks.
I mean, the first time I saw Michael Braswell swing a bat in a scrimmage, he lined one up the middle, and then 2 bats later, he hit one into the left field bleachers. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This might have some potential. Second base is really interesting, too, because you don't have Gavin Dugas anymore. Is it going to be Steven Milam? We've seen Gavin Guidry there a little bit as well. So middle of the infield there, but mainly Hunt with offense for me, it's like they're going to hit the ball. But it might take a little bit of time this year because they're going to be young in that lineup early.
Yeah, I mean, they're just some questions. Like, I don't know. I think I know the outfield's going to be, but maybe it rotates. I think it's going to be Bingham and Kling and Pearson, but I think they're going to play a number of guys back there. And then in the middle infield, I think Braswell's a shortstop, but I don't know that they have a second baseman that's stepping forward. You've got. I know that White's going to hit a ton, and I feel like I know what Chervinsky is, and I know what Milazzo is, and I kind of know what Pearson is too. I don't expect some sort of massive 22 home run year from Pearson, and I don't think he's going to be awful. He's just going to be a nice, productive piece who gives you a really good at bat. But the question is, what else can they fill around those guys, and how quickly can that come? And there are a lot of options.
There are, and who protects Tommy White in the lineup is going to be massive too. I mean, he had a bajillion RBI last year. I don't think you're going to see a total that high because he's not hitting behind Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan and those guys, right? Hayden Chervinsky is probably my best bet to get first crack at protecting Tommy White, but that's going to be a massive storyline to follow all year is can you keep him in a position where he can be, again, not as productive as last year with 100-some-odd RBI, but productive enough to drive your offense from the middle.
But at this time last year, if you would have told me that Cade Beloso was going to be hitting right behind, I would have gone, well, that doesn't sound very good to me. I mean, I love Cade, but he's been a pretty average player here for a couple of years and didn't even really play last year because he was hurt. And then all of a sudden he explodes and he ends up hitting leadoff in the championship game because Jay's trying to get him fastballs. I mean, so you just never know what you're kind of looking into. But it's interesting. Is anybody that was not on the team last year caught your eye offensively when you've been out there? Is it maybe Braswell?
I was going to say it would have been Braswell, but let me see if I can think of somebody else to really go there. I mean, no, I'm actually going to stick with Michael Braswell because it's just that was like you said, he's a great athlete. We know he can scoop everything up at shortstop. He did it against LSU in the South Carolina series. He played really well that weekend. The main thing was looking at the offense. Hey, can he hit? He was coming here to learn to hit from Jay Johnson, and so far, it looks like he has. Again, it's October. I get it, and He's maybe facing pitchers that aren't going to play a big role potentially at some point this season, and he's facing guys who are. So I think I'd really, really need to sit down and get advanced into it to see who he's getting all the hits off of. But for now, I'm encouraged with him at the plate.
I am too. I think he's I was concerned when I saw the numbers, and I recognize the name, but certainly not a guy that I paid a ton of attention to last year, quite frankly. South Carolina had some other guys that were pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't stink.
But I think he swung the bat pretty well for the first 3 weeks. We switch gears over to pitching now. Your favorite things you've seen so far, pitching wise?
Starters.
Yeah.
Or the guys that you assume are going to be your starters, right? Look, you're having to replace Paul Skeens and Ty Floyd. That was a really good one, too, and that's putting it mildly, right? That's probably the understatement of the century. You should be nervous. It's easy to be like, oh, you got Thatcher Hurd coming, and you got Luke Holman out of the transfer portal, and, Griffin Herring could potentially start. You like what you saw at a spot start from Ackenhausen. You've brought in a bunch of arms to supplement, but you want it to be Hurd. You want it to be Holman. They've looked like they can step right into that role. Thatcher Hurd's even ticked up a bit on the fastball to 97, which is encouraging. You know what the cutter and the slider are there. And look, Luke Holman, I think it was in one of his preseason media availability said that's the closest they could get to like a Paul Skeens this year. Now, obviously, he's not going to go set the strikeout record and whatnot. He doesn't throw 100, but that's a guy who can come in and be a solid number 2 for you, and you have that 1-2 punch again. And that's huge because you have a bunch of arms, Hunt. I know you'll say the same thing. You can piece together everything else after that.
That's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. It's crazy. I'm thinking about Omaha in October, but here
hell
we are.
Yeah.
I'm off as we go and look into a team. I'm off the deal where you need to. It'd really be nice if you stretched out a 4th starter and you had it in the midweek so you could have. And then I look up and I go, well, wait a second. They went into the losers bracket in Omaha, and Ackenhausen goes 6 innings of shutout or whatever it was. And then they hand it to Griffin Herring, and he's getting everybody out. And then the guy that threw the last pitch of the year, I thought was a shortstop, and now he's your closer. Like, things just work themselves out.
Yeah.
And you give somebody the baseball in June, whether it's in a regional or super in Omaha, and then they just gotta go pitch. So this whole deal that I'm kind of obsessed with, like, you need to define these roles and make sure you have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4, and that all sounds fine and dandy, but Ackenhausen goes and shuts out Tennessee. It's another example. They play Oregon State in 17, and you hand the ball to Caleb Gilbert. You just want to have a lot of good arms, and they've got a lot of good arms.
They do. It's crazy to say, but I mean, that looks like it's going to be the strength of the team this year. I mean,
I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah, and again, they'll hit the ball, but they're gonna move on the mound. Like, they're gonna move on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Hurd's fastball's up to 97, and he's holding it there, which was really nice to see. Holman had the best inning I have seen in the fall thus far. He struck out the side on 12 or 13 pitches, 94, 95, and then a good breaking ball that got 2 punch-outs on. Like, that is a very, very encouraging 1-2. And there are just so many options down the line for that third guy. And look, quite frankly, it very rarely works out that you start the same 3 guys throughout a season.
Yeah.
Like, you had Lang, Poche, and Walker one time. Outside of that, it's just you'll find a hot hand here or there and just see who develops.
Riley Cooper was your game 2 starter to start the season last year. Yeah, I mean, so, yeah. And look, he got huge outs for you, obviously, the rest of the way, but he was never going to be your number 2 starter.
Right. There's no question about that. Have you seen Cam Johnson yet?
Not in person.
Okay.
But I have seen the video clips and some of the numbers, and it looks like the fastball is very real, and it looks like the breaking ball is potentially more advanced than thought. They look like they're taking it kind of slow with him, which I'm A-okay with. I mean, you weren't expecting to have that guy here. You got him here. Not rush it. I think it's been about an inning at a time for him, so I'm all for it. I am fired up to see him in person now.
Gage Jump took the ball over the weekend. I was talking to Demouy, who I may get on here in a couple of weeks, but Jump was throwing 94, 95.
Here for it. I mean, coming off injury, yeah, give me that. Anytime.
And I think they're going to slow play him like they slow played Thatcher Hurd. Same type deal. It's a coincidence. They're both UCLA guys, but coming off an injury, you're going to be an inning at a time in the fall, and we're not going to rush you in the spring. But they've got so many options, and I didn't realize that the Jump fastball was going to be 95 at this point. Realistic to think that's a 96-mile-an-hour fastball come April, May, June from the left side. That's encouraging. Cam Johnson's already got that. And as you mentioned, like the analytics on Johnson are crazy. But I caution people, this is just me. I haven't watched him pitch yet. I've seen the numbers and whatnot. It would surprise me if he had really good command right now.
Yeah.
And because if you throw 98 miles an hour and you can dot it up, like they give you a call in the first round and then you take the money and you're gone. So there's got to be something that they've got to work on there that I'm assuming he's not just going to show up and just mow everybody down. But it's encouraging. It's a nice piece of clay to work with.
For sure. I mean, and especially, look, let's be honest. Again, Hunt, it's October. We've heard, all about him. People just want to go out there and see the kid throw 98, and that's been happening. So, you know what? Yeah, thumbs up. 2 thumbs up for that.
That he can certainly do. Anything else that we missed? Anything that's percolating? I was really encouraged with the fact that Paxton Kling and Jerry Jones both homered in the same game when I was out there. That's where the jump's going to have to come from. The freshmen into their sophomore year, it's Kling, it's Jones, it's Neal, and Fry. Those 4 guys have to become, in some cases, all conference level players for LSU to be great.
And, Paxton Kling is a great one because you know what the thing with him too, man, was last year when he was out there, he had that stretch early in the year where he was great. He had the rough weekend at A&M, got hurt, and you didn't really see him sparingly much. But when they put him back in there again towards the end of the year, he started to swing it again a little bit. So that could be a guy who could hit leadoff for you or a 2-hole, really, and you feel great about it. So, and I thought he's played well in the outfield so far, too, in the time. So, look, defense is always going to be a question mark here, but they'll piece that together and figure it out, and I think they've actually looked pretty good defensively so far.
Yeah, I mean, this team's they're gonna lean on run prevention, and as you mentioned, I think the bats come along as they kind of figure out what their best lineup is. It's just the opposite of last year, where you threw the lineup out there and you knew and you waited to see how it shook out from a pitching perspective. This year, you're gonna put your arms out there, you're gonna hold teams to almost nothing, and then you're gonna have to find the guys that are gonna hit, and they got tons of options there as well. Thanks for stepping in.
Absolutely.
He is Matt Musso. You can hear him in about 30 minutes on an After Further View with Matt Moscona. We'll take a timeout, come back and talk some more football. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. Look, if you got an aging loved one, you're maybe concerned about their mobility and maybe their safety walking around the house, One Bath and Closets can help with that. They can put in non-slip floors in the bathroom. They can put in a walk-in tub. They can put some handrails around the shower or toilet area. Just a safety precaution. This is not even just an aesthetic thing. It's just keeping people that you love safe. And David Duvall and his team do things like that all the time. Go to onebathandclosets.com, click the link for that free consultation, have David and his team come out and just see what they can do for you. That website's also got great pictures of their awesome work. They've got testimonials as well. And if you're worried about paying for it, financing options are available through One Bath and Closets. So just ask David Duvall and his team about that when they come out for that free consultation. The website again, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer.
Sandigrove, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco will join us from Las Vegas. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Reports surfacing in the last 30 minutes up on ESPN.com that I'm reading through is very, very interesting. And good reporting here by Pete Thamel and Mark Schleybaugh, who are digging into this Michigan sign stealing operation. And they've uncovered a lot here. So I'm going to get through it as best I can. Having just read it in the break, but it appears to be pretty serious and pretty obvious at this point. Connor Stallions is the suspended Michigan staffer who is at the center of this sign stealing probe. He has over the last 3 years purchased tickets to more than 30 games, and he's purchased them in his own name. He's purchased them at 11 different Big Ten schools and 11 different sources at 11 different league schools tell ESPN. So he's bought these tickets at 11 different Big Ten schools, and they have further evidence of electronics that he's been using. I mean, it's a pretty elaborate deal. He's going to these games. He's buying tickets on either side of the stadium and recording the coaches doing their signals, allegedly. And he had tickets confirmed for the Ohio State-Penn State game on Saturday. Of course, Michigan plays Ohio State and Penn State moving forward. Had tickets on both ends of the stadium and did not use them. He's been suspended without pay. And it's just very obvious that this guy's job is to go to Big Ten schools, attend the games, and video the signals. This is prohibited outwardly by rule. The rules are cited here in the ESPN story. Let's see. Could mean that Michigan violated Article 11, subsection H, that says any attempt to record, either through audio or video means, any signals given by an opposing player, coach, or other team personnel is prohibited. That's the rule that they're looking at there. Look, this is pretty obvious at this point when you've got records in this guy's name and you've got video evidence that's supposed to be brought forward in the next couple of days. Now, Michigan's defense here, in my opinion, is going to be that this guy was just doing this and we didn't really know. But as I talked about yesterday, that to me is an impossibility. It is impossible to me that this guy would have recorded signals and the information that comes with it based on what those signals mean, and that Michigan would use this information in a game plan, and that would never reach Jim Harbaugh's attention. That's an impossibility. Now, you can say that this is not that big a deal. You should be able to steal signs. It's part of sports. But this is very clearly laid out in the NCAA rulebook. This is cheating as they define it. Again, you may think, hey, it's fine if you go look at somebody's signals. Baseball has advanced scouts. There are people on sidelines. Matt Flynn's talked about how during games he's looked at stealing signs. But there's a line there. You can't go to other games. You can't record them. This all has to be done within a 60-minute football game from your own sideline. And Michigan is very, very clearly violating this rule and has been for 3 years. This feels like something that could be real significant with Jim Harbaugh. I mean, this is just flagrant cheating. And I don't know what the punishment is, whether it's from the University of Michigan, whether it's from the Big Ten, whether it's from the NCAA. I have no confidence that the NCAA will be able to enforce something because they just never do. But this is just flagrant cheating. And I wonder if Jim Harbaugh doesn't kind of look towards the NFL. We'll see as this comes out, because this is all a report from ESPN, but you've got 11 schools saying this happened. You've got proof that he had tickets to Ohio State, Penn State, and didn't go. There's video evidence, and there's a very clearly stated rule. This is not some gray area here. If I've got documented evidence that a Michigan staffer who's on the payroll, makes $55,000 a year, is buying tickets to other games, and I've got evidence that he's recording games, this is a huge deal. Whether you think it is or not. I mean, I think I told this story last week. Like, I literally went to 7th and 8th grade basketball games with my dad. He was our coach, and we scouted the other team. We watched and saw kind of what they did and who their best players were, and it was just kind of something that we would do. We would show up 2 hours before our game and watch. Like, this is common, and Hester was telling the story on Friday about how high school coaches do this every week. You play on Thursday, or you've got a Saturday morning game or whatever, or somebody that you play against plays on Thursday, like, you show up. But there are rules. This is against them. It's been in place since 1994. And so it would not surprise me if there's significant consequences for Jim Harbaugh here. And you talk about another rules violation. He was just suspended for the first month of this season. It just feels like this could have a pretty significant ripple effect. It's so obvious and so brazen to buy tickets in the staffer's name week after week after week. So, I'm combing through the story as we're on the air. It says Michigan was already amid an NCAA investigation for alleged illegal recruiting during COVID-19. That's ongoing. Like, let's see. The potential of these allegations being added to the NCAA case could increase Coach Jim Harbaugh's exposure to punishment by the NCAA's head coach responsibility rules, which essentially state the head coach is responsible for everything that happens in his program, whether they're aware of it or not. There was a quote after the game with Michigan State on Saturday where Harbaugh said there's been attempts to diminish this team in a lot of ways, starting with the easy schedule. They just play. And last week he denied illegally stealing signs. Harbaugh said, I do not have any knowledge or information regarding the University of Michigan football program illegally stealing signs, nor have I directed any staff member or others to participate in an off-campus scouting assignment. I have no awareness of anyone on our staff having done that or having directed that action. Okay, I hadn't seen that quote as I'm just now reading this story while I'm on the air. But, like, that's just a lie. That is an out-and-out lie. And it just feels like this deliberate behavior, this breaking rules and then outwardly lying about it, feels like kind of a big deal to me. I don't know if it means Jim Harbaugh gets fired. I don't know if it means I'm sick of dealing with the NCAA. I'm going to go coach the Saints next year. Like, I'm not certain where this all shakes out, but it feels like a pretty big deal to orchestrate an operation to absolutely break rules intentionally and then lie about it when you get caught. Feels like a big deal. We'll see. And, man, Michigan's got a really good football team this year. Signs or not, they're good. And to have this be diminished would be one heck of a thing. But we'll see what comes out over the coming weeks. If you want to read that whole story, it's on ESPN.com, courtesy of Pete Thamel and Mark Schlabach. All right, we'll take one more timeout. We'll come back and play a little Take It or Leave It, and then that'll be it for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jump into the NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel when they place a $5 bet on the NBA. The way you can watch all the action, you bet on everything from the point spread to the player props and more. Best of all, you get paid your winnings instantly. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. Just visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and tip off the NBA season right. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. This is a long disclaimer, folks. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. New customer offer. First online real money wager only. Refund issues now withdrawal bonus bet that expires in 7 days. All customer offers $5 NBA wager requirement. Limit 1 pass per customer across both offers. Restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See full terms for both offers at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're somebody who has a gaming problem wants out, call 1-877-70-STOP. NBA League Pass. Local blackout restrictions apply.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
This Sunday, we bring you a trio of NFL games. We start with a noon kickoff, Rams at Cowboys. Immediately following that, it's the Cardinals and 49ers, and then the night game, the Bears and Chargers. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here. I see Pete Thamel is on ESPN Sports Center right now talking about this Michigan sign stealing operation. I think that's going to be the story in college football this week, and we'll see if there are any fallout from it. I think it's interesting because that's one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country, and their head coach is in hot water once again. That's the rest of the schedule for Michigan. They got Purdue, then at Penn State, then Maryland, at Maryland, and then they got Ohio State in Ann Arbor. So crazy stuff going on up there around the big house. All right, Beck, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel took to Twitter after his team's 31-17 loss to the Eagles and went after the referees with a long thread of videos of clips of penalties that he saw happen, including a tweet from someone accusing one ref being biased towards the Eagles because his hometown is an hour from Philadelphia. Coaches complaining on Twitter. Take it or leave it.
I'm probably going to leave that one. I mean, you want to send it to the league office. That's what you do every week. That's perfectly fine. But, I mean, you kind of look like a kind of whiner when you're doing it on Twitter. Now, McDaniel's a little different. He's wired a little differently and acts a little differently and, whatever. I didn't even know that this had happened. But they got beat pretty good. You only scored 17 points. Look, I think it's kind of a bad look to fire away on Twitter.
All right, moving on here. The Astros lost at home again. Rangers right fielder Adolis Garcia got his revenge with a grand salami to cap a 9-2 win in Houston. The Stros should petition to play Game 7 in Arlington. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I think they'd probably rather play at home, but their record at home stinks and their record on the road is awesome. I get it. I love this ALCS. It's stress-free for me. I don't care about either team. I love that the two fan bases hate each other. I love that they're so close. I love that the games have been dramatic. This ALCS has been awesome. The NLCS has kind of been a snoozer. I realize the Diamondbacks did have a walk-off hit, but the Phillies have felt like they were kind of in control of this thing the whole way, and I think they'll probably finish things off today. But the ALCS has just been awesome to watch, so I'll be glued to that this evening. I can't wait to see if, again, I don't trust Scherzer to go out there and get outs. I mean, I think that Houston has seen him a lot, and he's just been out for so long. I just don't expect him to find it. So while I have such a massive amount of respect for the career Scherzer's put together, I don't think he's great right now. So I would lean Houston tonight, but if the Astros play the only two series in the history of the sport where the road team wins all 7 games, that'll be amazing.
All right, last one here. Bye weeks. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I like the bye week. I've had some fun on bye weeks over the years. Listen, I went to New York one time. What did we do last year for the bye? I feel like we did something, but I can't remember what it was. But this year, I'm going on a little golf trip with some buddies over to the Bow, so that's going to be awesome. Like as much fun as weeks are, as game days are, and as awesome as LSU Bama is going to be to get ready for next week, and while the content's not super awesome this week because you're in a bye week, like good for the players, good for the coaches, and good for those of us who have our weekends consumed totally by football, some in a work capacity, some just by choice, to have an opportunity to do something a little bit different this week. So I wish the slate was a little bit better from a college football perspective. It's not. I wish there was a really good SEC West game, which I realize you take LSU and Alabama out of the equation. That's tougher to do. But I wish that there was some huge. Who's A&M's got like South Carolina, Ole Miss has got like Arkansas. Maybe they already played Arkansas.
A&M's got South Carolina. In Auburn, Mississippi State, that's going to be a bad one.
That's awful. Who's Ole Miss playing? Vandy or something?
Yeah, Ole Miss playing Vandy.
Jeez. That, and again, okay, I don't want to say anything because they're playing Georgia, so I guess it balances everything out. But I just get cranky when I'm trying to compete for the SEC West crown, and my permanent opponent's Florida, and Ole Miss has Vanderbilt. But they do play Georgia this year, so catch a little bit of break. That's a bad break for Kiffin and the boys. Like, you don't have a lot of bites at this apple to try to win the SEC West. This is the last chance to win the SEC West. So to have Georgia pop on your schedule when you get a vulnerable Alabama team and an LSU team with a bad defense and a bad A&M, like, it's just that's a tough break. for those over there in Oxford. Yeah, I like bye weeks. I'm in on bye weeks. Excited for a little time away this coming weekend. That'll do it for our show here on this Monday. If you missed anything, you can always catch our shows on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, anywhere you find your podcast, you can find us as well. And then on YouTube, our two channels, Hunt on LSU, as well as Hunt on Saints. We'd love it if you subscribe to those. We cut up videos, Beck does, into those little 10-minute digestible segments that will show right up on your homepage if you subscribe to the channel, so we certainly do appreciate that. Open the show with about 30 minutes on LSU and Army, including a look at what this Zy Alexander injury potentially could mean for LSU. Denton Day from SiriusXM, host of College Football Overtime, was with us at 1:30, as he generally is on Fridays. Had a little LSU recruiting talk. Then an hour or two, looked at my picks against the spread in the SEC, and then Musso chatted a little bit of fall baseball with us. Going to do a little bit of basketball and baseball this week as it is the bye. Maybe grab Matt McMahon or Jay Johnson, have them come on and talk a little bit. I know the basketball team's got an exhibition coming up on Friday, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But we'll get into some LSU and Alabama stuff as well. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. As we generally do on Tuesdays, we will talk to Sharif Ishak about the Saints. It's been a long time since that debacle back on Thursday night against Jacksonville. We'll see what the Saints are doing as they move forward. We'll chat with Sharif about that, plus maybe a little Pelicans with him tomorrow, and then we'll have Glenn West on the Tigers, as we always do. Glenn covering LSU for Go 24/7, and he will be with us. So looking forward to a fun week, even though no game on the end of it. So that'll just about do it for us here. Matt is going to drive you home from 3 to 6. That is after further review. Musso will be hanging out for that as well. I'm sure Matt will have a lot of positive things to say about the Saints, and should have some actual positive stuff to say about the Tigers. But we'll be back tomorrow, same time and same place. You're listening to the Capital City's leader in sports talk. It is 104.5 ESPN Baton